Previously on the Leaky Bucket podcast.
So I got to a point in my career where I said, you know what, I'm going to stop doing everything I've been doing. I was reading 80 to 120 books a year, downloading, listening to podcasts, videos, workshops, you name it. And I said, you know what, forget all that. If I'm truly the creator of my life, I really went back into my spiritual aspects of stuff. And I said, if I'm truly the creator of my life and how I see things is what it becomes and what I want to experience is what it is. And all I need to do is focus on my vibe and I can create effortless success. Then here's what I'm going to do. And so what my wife and I did is we changed the way our office was because it wasn't truly aligned to what really mattered to us. I had a coach who was kind of like, hey, serve people where they are, don't serve them where you want them to be. And it's good business advice because it grew my business. But it was bad advice because I like to be very authentic and aligned to what I do. If this is what I want to have, this is what I want to create. And so I was like, why can't I have a practice like that? And so we decided to take a 40% hit purposefully on our practice. So what that meant was whoever didn't align with the new shift of our office, we would just let them know that we're going this route. They were very understanding. They actually appreciated more of our transparency with that, being honest with them. And they're like, wow, you don't do this for the money then, you do this for a bigger purpose. I'm like, yeah, this is where I'm going. And so we let go, we referred out patients, 40% hit. Here's the magic. A year to a year and a half later, we all of a sudden were back at our financial peak and I was working 50% less than where I was before. And I didn't do anything new, anything different, nothing. I even had a pediatric office. When I first made the shift, I only had a 5% patient volume of pediatrics, which means age 0 to 17. If you took all my patients, 5% were peds at that range. In 6 months, we went to 48%, not doing a thing. And I like to be transparent. There was one workshop we did in that 6-month period. We only got 2 patients out of it. That did not change it up that much. It helped a little, very little, but it wasn't a huge shift. So what ended up happening was I looked at all this, I go, we didn't do anything new. We didn't do anything different. No new marketing strategies, no new nothing. All I did was focus on the quantum world, energy, and all these things. And it happened. And I never had to worry about my business again. I was never up working uphill. When COVID hit, we took a 40% hit the first month in the lockdowns in Chicago. And 3 months later, we were breaking records.
Hi there, and welcome to the Leaky Bucket podcast. I'm your host, Ian Morgan, and this is the financial performance podcast for entrepreneurs looking to get a better understanding of their numbers, to plug the leaks in their business, and to move from surviving to thriving. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Leaky Bucket podcast. Today we have with us Matt, who is the king of video. He spent 7 years running a global video production company, traveling the world making videos. And he now spends his time helping small business owners and entrepreneurs navigate the wonderful world of YouTube with his YouTube membership. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Matt, first of all, was it always video that you were the expert in, or how did you get to video?
Absolutely not. I'm a tech geek, really. That's where I started. My earliest one of my earliest memories of being a tech geek is electrocuting myself when I was about 9 years old, trying to fix my power supply for my Amiga. If anyone remembers Amigas, don't keep it plugged in is the answer to that. That's how you don't electrocute yourself. So it was an early lesson. Could have died. But no, I was building computers when I was a teenager. I always wanted to be a technician, IT tech. I realised that dream by being an apprentice. Failed badly at college and I went to 3 different colleges and dropped out of all of them, and eventually got an apprenticeship and worked in a college. That's how I learnt my skill. And then pretty much 20 years in IT after that. But how I got into video is I started as an IT contractor about 2011, and it's one of those jobs that you get a good amount of money. And so when that happens and you no longer need to worry about money that much, you look at other things you can do. And we were getting married at the time, and we were looking for a wedding film, and my wife was like, I can't find anything good enough. So a friend of mine who was at university, just finishing a film degree, I helped him build his website part of his university project. I don't think he did any of it. Don't tell his professors, but I said to him, what are you doing? And he said, I've just finished uni. I'm looking for a job in Tesco. And I said, oh, Tesco retail, whatever. And he said, I said, have you done a wedding before? And he sent me this wedding film, and it was like a music video. And I was like, mate, forget retail. Like, let's start a video company. And we literally days later were creating the name and planning this video company. And so I was doing IT jobs in the day and then filming videos sort of in the evening. And as we started that business, I spent about 25 grand on equipment. And we just did expenses only jobs for the first 6 months, which was amazing. We went to Vegas, Copenhagen, Barcelona. We got some really great gigs, but like when we were in Vegas, expenses only, we were staying on someone's sofa, doing that business. And then after 6 months, I said, okay, now we're gonna no more expenses only. We're gonna charge a proper wage, proper amount for this, and that was it. But I'd never filmed a video before. I had no experience in it. I just thought, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. How different was the video world to the tech world?
Well, very similar actually. Like, when I think about my tech experience, going into video was like just a new world of tech. So I had to understand frame rates, and I had to understand editing, and I had to understand lighting, sound, and all that kind of stuff. And it kind of brought the two worlds were kind of together, even though I didn't realize it. And so, and as the kind of analog world of photography kind of moved to digital, and photography equipment started to be able to film HD video, was the time where I got into it. So it was like a really perfect timing. Because it became affordable, and so I just loved all of that geekiness. And anyone now that speaks to me, like, I can talk about gear forever. It's my favorite topic, and I think that's just the two worlds colliding, really.
Brilliant. What was it like having been sort of that employee and then through to IT contractor and all being sort of on your own? What was it then suddenly like having a business partner?
Well, we were only business partners for about 8 months, and then I got rid of him. But what it was like is just really weird. Like, in hindsight, you can talk about that stuff, Ian. Like, it's hard to think. When you remember yourself when you start, you have all these ideas and dreams of what it should be, and then you end up doing tax returns and admin and all of this boring stuff. Well, maybe it's not boring for you, tax returns, as that's part of the business, right? But like for me, that's stuff that I didn't envisage I would be doing. I expected that I'd be this rock star filming music videos, and instead I was filming waste management companies and engineering companies and stuff, So it's a very, very strange situation. I think being a business owner and an entrepreneur in general is something that you have to be a certain kind of person to do.
So from your perspective, what would cause the sort of separation of the two of you?
What do you mean by that?
In terms of, like, you were only business partners, I think you said for 8 months.
Oh, what caused the separate? Well, it was that dream of being a rock star, right? Like, he thought we were going to be millionaires overnight, and that by 8 months' time that we would be living laptop lifestyles, and it just wasn't like that. Like I say, we're expenses only. He didn't invest any money. I'd invested all the money, so I was deep into this. And he just his wife wanted him to get a proper job, and I think anybody that's been in business, if you don't have a partner who supports the idea that you don't have a proper job, you will be pulled back into that, because unfortunately, being an entrepreneur, this strange idea of having a proper job, or the opposite, the idea of becoming an entrepreneur just seems ridiculous. I'm fine in my civil servant, safe job. And then you look at it and actually what it really means when, 2,000 Amazon employees just got sacked. Like, there's no security in those old jobs. So the security I think that is there is just not, So from my view now as an entrepreneur, sort of 11 years in or whatever it's been, I'm like, you're mad to have one of those jobs, but the other way around, they think, oh, you're mad to have no security and no pension and all that kind of stuff. But I think this is the most secure way to be.
When you agreed sort of that split in separate directions,
Yeah.
what was, I assume you carried on with the business at that point?
Yeah.
And what was your mind? What was your thought process?
I don't really know. I think we hired an employee about 4 or 5 months in. Like the guy, it wasn't just that he had this dream. He was quite lazy, and so he made out like he was really busy. And I was like, oh, well, it must be taking ages to do all the editing, so we'll get another editor. I had this guy that I knew. More on him later, by the way, because this is the best part of it. Is found this guy. He joined the company, and so we just had to work out between us, because we trained him up. We had to, in that really short period of time, we had to work out if we could still deliver the services. So I knew a bit about what I was doing, but I wasn't a very good editor. The guy that we employed had been editing for like 3 months. So what we did is I told him that I was thinking of getting rid of this other guy, you know, the other director. And I said, we're going to go and film a wedding just to see if we can film it and edit it. And we did it, and we filmed it, edited it. It looked great. It wasn't quite as good as the other guy did, having all the formal training. But it was enough for us to go, okay, I think we can survive if we get rid of this guy. And so we got rid of him. And I was just like, okay, let's see what happens. I just don't really feel like I consider the future too much. You know, I think my wife's probably more. She thinks about all the things that could go wrong if you're in that position, but I'm just kind of like forever the optimist. You know, this is not working here, so we should change that and do this instead, and then just see what happens there. But I don't know. I feel like it's madness now what I did, but hey ho, we're here.
If you're that very much like, if you're that live in the moment person, do you find, are you good at celebrating the wins when they happen?
No. Did you expect me to say yes to that? What was you hoping I would say?
No, I genuinely, I thought you would say no.
Yeah.
How do you make sure then that you're living a successful life?
I'll tell you when I feel like I'm living a successful life. I just find it really difficult to celebrate hardly anything. It's really strange, because I was talking to somebody about this today. I see people, they celebrate. So let's say, I'll give you an example. Launching a program and selling out 20 seats of that program. Like, I see people who they put on social media that, hey, I've just celebrated because I've sold out this thing. And for me, I will do it and then move on to the next thing. And what I've been trying to do this year is to stop and celebrate. So I sold out a lifetime deal for my membership in November on my birthday. And so when I did that, I was like, oh my God, I put this offer together today. And, 48 hours later, I'd sold it out. And so I made sure I had a drink to myself on that evening, to celebrate it, because otherwise it just goes. And then I'm like, oh, that was cool. We did that thing, it worked. And then let's move on to the next thing. And actually, I think that's part of the problem of this kind of business is not stopping. You kind of go to the next thing over and over again. And in 2020, I sold out 6 workshops, and I never did them again, but I sold them out. And it's because I was too busy, like, okay, that worked, let's move on to the next thing, when actually I should have just repeated the thing that worked over and over again.
Are you doing more of that today? Are you doing more of the repeating what works?
A little bit, but also just scaling back massively to scaling back massively. And it's not about celebrating the wins of the smaller things. It's to sit there and say, if what I think is the problem a lot of the times is you create this business that you really think that you want, and then you run that business and you get some successes and you're doing all the things, and then you need to take a week off, and then everything stops. And then you're like, oh, I've created a business that it really requires me to kind of keep things moving. And then you realize that's not a good business. So what I'm trying to do is is go back and really, and I love the fact that it's called Leaky Bucket, because it is about filling the holes of the business. Because I found something that worked, I would run forward, I would do the thing, and then I would look for the next thing and then see if that worked. And before you know it, I'm like 10 years down the road and all the basic stuff just isn't done. And so this year I've been like, okay, how can we just get all the basic stuff done, so that if now I'm going to an event this week, a couple of, 3-day event, if I am there, is everything still moving? Is all the social media going out and all that kind of stuff? I think that's fair to say. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, I think I want to pick up on the other side, I think, Matt, of the thing. So you don't necessarily stop and celebrate those small wins.
Yeah.
Are you hard on yourself though when you fall short of what you expected?
Yes, and also when. So in that sellout situation on my birthday, I'd set my goal to sell 10 spaces, and I'd sold about 6 of them. There was 4 to go, and it got to 5 p.m. the second day, and I said I'd close it at lunchtime. And so I got to the end of it and I was like, oh, you know what? I didn't sell them. I should be really happy, because it was a couple of grand that I didn't have before I went to the event. Meant the event didn't cost me anything. Time out was worth it. It was my birthday, so I should have been celebrating anyway. But I was just disappointed not to hit the 10. But what happened is throughout the evening, because I didn't close the cart when I said I should have done, is those other spaces got sold and then I did sell out. So I kind of got there in the end. But I do think my own personal expectation is much higher than, like I was saying before. I see people celebrating these little things that I really take for granted, but I think it's personal expectation that I should be hitting those things anyway. I've been in business long enough now; it should just come as part of being in business. But that's not true. I know that's not true.
It's interesting, Matt, that obviously you're training people, to be good at video, to be good at YouTube, and that stuff. And people are coming to you as the expert, and yet you, on reflection, you seem to be stuck in this position where you never think you're good enough. You're always going to be better. And yet at the same time, the flip side, you're also putting yourself out there to go, look, I'm an expert. I know all this stuff. Come and pay what we do. Do you think that's common with business owners, that they're constantly striving to be better?
I think so. I mean, I thought you was going to say, do you celebrate other people's small achievements? Because, I do that loads, and I force them to celebrate their own achievements. So to sit here and you ask me those questions, and I'll be honest, that's just the way I am. But I'm far more comfortable helping other people celebrate their achievements than I am my own, for sure. I lost the thread of what you asked me, but do I think other business owners? Yeah, I think it's about being humble. Maybe, people call it imposter syndrome and stuff like that, but I don't feel it's like that. I feel like keeping yourself grounded, and some people might call that limiting beliefs as well, but keeping yourself grounded by just going, okay, that was good, you did a good job, and I probably should spend more time reflecting on that and being like, okay, that was good. That certainly helped when I was journaling, which I've obviously stopped doing because I had something to write about. But I think also not being, I don't want to say big-headed. That's not fair. But I think just like keeping yourself grounded and making sure that you're still working to get the next thing. Feel like that's important. You've got me really thinking now, because now I'm thinking, no, is that true? A lot of the time, what I've learned over the last most recent couple of years is about listening to what you say out loud. And so when I'm saying this stuff to you, I'm sitting there and I'm constantly questioning myself, like, no, that can't be true. Like, you must. And there is times when I definitely do celebrate stuff, and I definitely am trying to do that more. but it must be the curse of well-rounded entrepreneurs. Some people don't care. Some people just want to know they've hit the goal that they set and away they go. You know, I've learned that about personality profiles. Some people are very results driven, and they set the result, they hit the result, they go, yes, great, I achieved it, celebrate, move to the next thing. Whereas I think other people don't necessarily feel like that. How do you feel? Do you celebrate your wins?
Probably not enough.
Not enough.
I try to. But yeah, I think equally, yeah, I'm constantly in that. Oh, yeah, but we can improve. We can do this better. That didn't quite hit the mark.
And you're in it with your wife, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing about that is that it's on you two. We're in the same position, right? Like and this is the thing about having one of those sensible jobs is that everything's on us. Like if we don't succeed or if we don't deliver, then do a 360. There's no one else in the room to blame. It's just each other, and I don't want to blame my wife, and she don't want to blame me. So actually, in the summer this summer, we bought 2 bottles of champagne and we sat in the garden and we celebrated. And it wasn't anything particular, but it was just celebrating like surviving lockdown and getting through the experience what happened with my old business and all those kind of things. Like having that time to celebrate together was really valuable. I think that probably helped more than anything else when it comes to thinking about, do I celebrate often? Well, celebrating with my wife, who's my business partner really, and my best advisor, like that makes not celebrating those little things feel worthwhile.
Yeah, I want to come back to working with your wife in a second, right?
Yeah.
But I think actually there's maybe a key question, right, around all of this, which is regardless of any of all these aspects of whether you celebrate wins or you're hard on yourself.
Yeah.
I think the key question probably is, Matt, are you happy?
Yes.
Then in which case does it really matter if what you want to be in is a state of happiness all the time? Then is it right for you whether you do or you don't celebrate those little wins and are hard on yourself maybe at times?
Yeah, I think I'm happy or enjoying it or whatever, however you want to describe it. Like when I'm most excited about my business is on the group calls that I have for my YouTube for Business membership. Like when I'm seeing other people do stuff as a result of me helping them do stuff. I know it sounds really corny, and I see people using this as a marketing tactic, but I've been in a position where I've been an employer of people and I've given them a job and I've made loads of money, and that's great and I love it. But actually seeing other people achieve something in their business as a result of my help, because that's it. It's not like I'm not just happy for everyone because they're achieving stuff all the time, but the thing that keeps me personally happy is as a result of my help. That's what motivates me. I'm not making enough money in that business at all, the YouTube for Business, the membership. So it's not financially rewarding in that sense yet, but I'm just okay with that because I'm financially stable elsewhere. It means that I can show up to those things, be really happy that everyone's moving forward, and then just keep plodding along and trying to grow that membership. I think that, I don't know about you, but when you earn a good amount of money, after a while, the money stops being the driver. When you've paid for everything and then it's just like, an extension on the house or a new car or whatever. Like when you get to that point, you're like, what else is there? Because this is not fulfilling anymore. This is just a really great life and I'm very fortunate, but this is not fulfilling me. And then I think that's where you start looking at how can I help other people, because you've satisfied your own needs. It's that Maslow's hierarchy of needs stuff.
Yeah. Do you think you'd be doing things differently if you weren't financially secure from
I know what that felt like, Ian. It was this time last year. I had a very tough time. I tried everything. I felt like I tried everything, and what I really mean is I've been jumping from thing to thing throughout 2020 and most of 2021, and unexpected, but it was expected really when I look at it. I got to a point where we weren't making enough money, we're not doing enough sales, and we had some personal circumstances as well. My daughter's homeschooled now, and we had to pay for that, and got to a point where we were struggling financially. And I remember trying to sell things when I was struggling financially, and it was hard because I was coming at it from a place of desperation, and you can never sell from there. Like if you're ever desperate to sell, get somebody else to sell because when you show up to calls and you're desperate, it's just not a good place at all. Whereas now, I had a sales call before this this podcast. Spoke to somebody about the products, spoke about what it would do for them. Like I know for sure that what I can give them will help them, and so if they take it or not, I don't care. Like if because I don't need the money, you know. Like I'm just happy with the fact that I know I can help them. I know it will benefit them, and they've got to make the decision. And I feel like I sold it from a place of giving rather than desperation, because that is hard. But what I will say is, having been in that place of desperation, for anyone that might be listening that is in that place, is that it is you are 100% capable and in control of changing that situation. Like that's the one thing that really was difficult at the time, is not knowing or believing in myself that I was capable and in control of changing that situation.
Matt, I want to go back to working with your wife. I think there's plenty of people who probably look at it and go, oh, if I was working with my wife, my husband, life partner, whatever, at a high level, it's sort of like, oh, that's cute. But at the same point, it's also like, that is the last thing I'd ever want to do. Because where does work end and home life begin? And what if you have a disagreement over something at work? Does that then go home? How do you manage that and make that work for you guys?
How do we manage it? Not particularly well. Like we've worked together. Really, truly, we've worked together probably 10 years. Even when I was running the business full time and she was looking after the kids, Amy's always been the quality assurance. So we've always created videos. We had the video company for 7 years. We also did 60 wedding films in that time. So she's always watched every video that we sent to a client, because then we could ensure that one person had their eyes on it. They could say to the editors, this is what needs doing. So when that was in that position, it was fine because I was not there. So she would review it. She would talk to the editors. We were working together. She knew strategically what I was doing, and she would help me make decisions, but she ultimately left me to do it. Then when it got to 2020, we started a new business. We started the business on March the 1st, 2020. And we got this nice office, and we'd agreed, the kids were both older now and we're going to school, and we were like, let's go we'll be in this office together. We got our new laptop. And of course, 20 days later, that changed a bit. So then it became quite difficult, actually. And I think making that decision to sit, because we were sat in an office next to each other in that new office. And even then, when we were working from our dining table, like we were in the room and have been in the house together ever since. I think it's been quite difficult. But I think what I've learned over the last 2 years, really, since that's happened, is about boundary setting. It's about knowing what she's responsible for and what I'm responsible for, and then not crossing those boundaries. Because my wife is very not hot-headed. She's very stern in the way she does stuff. Stern. I still think both of those things is disrespectful. So I'm trying. She won't hear this, but if she did, I want to try and say something that's diplomatically correct. So I've got a marriage, but she knows what she wants out of what she's doing. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. And so if I come in like a bull in a china shop, then she gets upset with that. And of course, like anybody would, whether you're business partner or employee or whatever. So I've learned just to go, okay, that's yours. You do your thing, I'll do my thing, and then we'll discuss the stuff in the middle, and come to a decision. But even then, I think she allows me the freedom to make the final call, and just supports that. What's it like for you guys?
Yeah, I think similar. I think we're very clear in terms of having those boundaries. And it was interesting, some of the wording you were using, and then you were sort of questioning yourself, going, "Oh, hang on, that's like a negative view of something that your view was it's a challenge, but there's a positive element to it."
Yeah,
And I think for a very long time, I had similar views of Sam. I had very, I viewed some of her skills in a negative way. You know, organization, structure, ability to question ideas and make sure that we've only got the positive, really great ones. I viewed them very negatively. And then I read the book Rocket Fuel. It's part of the Traction series of books. And it talks about visionaries and integrators, and how until you learn what a visionary and integrator is, this is how you view the other side. And I was like, oh my God, this is me and Sam. I view her like this. And then it was just like, just take a step back and just look at all those things that you find challenging. And you find them challenging because they're probably the things that you're not good at.
Yeah.
And you're not able to do. So actually, rather than trying to almost clash over these things, do what you're doing and standing back and just going, right, Ian, why am I going to spend time doing quality control checks when I'm not that type of person? That comes hard to me to do all those checks. But for Sam, she loves a list. She loves checking processes. She loves making sure everything's organized and structured. So to her, that's easy. So then you go, well, why would I do that and get her to review it? And then she's just going to pick all the holes and the stuff that I've done wrong. Why doesn't she just do it in the first place? And when did I come across that? Probably 2016, 2017. So we're about 10 years into business by that point. And yeah, it was suddenly like, all these frustrations and challenges that we've had, we can just go, do you know what? We'll stick to that bit. You stick to that bit. And like you say, there's the middle ground, when we're looking at finances and strategic plans and what are we trying to achieve, we need to come together. But yeah, Sam's the people person. So Sam's deals with all of our HR and recruitment and all staff development and so on. That's great. And I can deal with client relationships and that side, and we just stick to it. And yeah, works well. I think we've also had a big agreement to go, look, if there's a disagreement at work, it stops at work. So if we finish work at 5 p.m, that's it. That discussion's done. We can pick it up tomorrow at 9, but that's it. In which case we need to go home and then go, right, I'm now viewing Sam as my wife, not Sam as my business partner. And we need to be disciplined to park that issue. That's always worked quite well, particularly better when we've had separate offices. So even now at home, we've got this office I'm in now, sort of studio as such, is external to our house. So actually we have that process. If we did have some kind of business disagreement, we actually literally leave work and we walk out through our garden back to the house. Now we're at home, and we have that separated.
I think that's so important. I love what you said about and the different skills.
Hey there. Really sorry for interrupting, but I really wanted to let you know about some amazing bonus content we have available for you. You see, not only do we record behind the scenes, but also we go deeper into some of the key topics that come up during the conversation. Now, you can find out more about this and access all of it free of charge over on Facebook. Just search for the Leaky Bucket Podcast Community.
I definitely will take a look at that book, but I think I understand it because I said to Amy the other day, which of course she took offence to because of the way I said it, but I said to her, I really don't care about the detail of the social media stuff that we're doing. She was approving some social posts or whatever. I said, I just need to know it's done. And from her perspective, she does care about the details. She does care about what we put out as a business. And it was my brand. It was the King of Video brand. It wasn't the stuff that we do together. but she writes my copy now, and she does the graphics and stuff. Or at the time she was doing the graphics and someone else was doing the copy, she was approving it. And so she took offense because she's like, but that represents you, Matt. It's your brand. But for me, I was like, but I've given that job to somebody else now. I just want it done so I can focus on this thing over here, whatever it is, So understanding what you're good at from that point of view. And like you say, you reminded when you talked about the quality control, like she'll spot all these tiny details, whereas I have no interest in the tiny details. I just want to go, okay, that's done. I don't mind a spelling mistake. I don't like it, but I don't mind it. She can't cope with those things, and I'll often get messages about my Facebook statuses. Now my business manager does it to me as well. She'll send me a message, "Oh, you spelled that wrong," or whatever, and I'm just like, okay, thanks. I don't take it personally, because it's not personal. They're just saying, I care about the perception people have of you, and so I'm just going to help you ensure that that's a high standard, and so I think it's so valuable. I wish I had the bit that you described is the separation of the end of the day, 5 o'clock, that's it, business is done, because we definitely don't have that. I mean, a large part of the time we do, but if there's a big deadline, Amy's working on a project at the moment. She was working on, we're watching a film, and normally we down tools at 9 p.m. We're like, that we have to be finished then, so we can watch a film or do something together. And yesterday we were both watching the film working. I was like, the separation has ended at that, but we both know I'm away this week, and so we've got to put some extra hours in to make sure that I can have that time off without having to think. I don't know if you've ever been to an event where you've got loads of work on still, and all you're doing at that event is think about the work. Whereas I like to go to the event and just be present, and because I'm going to get new business from this event, like I'm going to make good new relationships, and you've got to be present to be able to do that. If you're having to leave, and I see people leaving to take calls and stuff, and I'm like, really? You've taken this time out, you've spent the money, but you can't disconnect. Like, that's bad. That's bad.
Yeah. I think the bit we both sort of picked up on and highlighted there, Matt, was the skill sets between the two individuals are the ones that they don't cross over. And yet I think actually most business owners, for their first hire, they want to hire a mini-me who can do everything that they do as well. And yet we're both sitting here probably making that same mistake and having hired a mini-me in the past, or tried to at least, and ended up frustrated. Whereas actually it seems the best option often is to go and hire for all your weaknesses. All those things, like you say, it's not that you don't care about them, but they're not important to you. So if they're the detail, getting things 100% correct, all those things, that's the type of person you need to be going to hire.
I mean, it's just the same as like the calls, Ian. Amy don't mind being on the team calls, but she wouldn't want to host a group call. And I wouldn't say it'd be a worst nightmare, but she just wouldn't enjoy it like I love it. And so when you learn those phrases that I've just said, loving it or not enjoying it, that's when you can really. And I did this with my OBM. I asked her in a message. I said, "Can you describe all the tasks you do and tell me which ones you love doing?" And it was just so I could understand, what do we need to give to the VA. Like, what do I need to give to somebody else? Because when you give it to somebody else who does love that stuff, even like you say with our significant others, like, you see how much quicker they do it and how much more efficient they are with it, and you're like, oh my God, that would have killed me inside to do that job, yet you love it and you've done it super quick. That's when you find that with going beyond significant others, but staff that you employ. Oh my God, that is like a godsend. I've got that with my VA now, and I absolutely love giving her stuff because she just nails it.
Yeah. Matt, you've got multiple different businesses currently. I'm not sure how many you've got exactly here, but you've got multiple that you're at least a partner within.
Yeah.
How do you make sure that you allocate appropriate time to everything?
I don't have an answer to that yet. when I started so you're referring to my website business. I got a business partner in Slick Lizard is that business. We just started it a couple of months ago. Two people, similar skill set, similar things that we enjoy. I had a website company for a long time and then got rid of it years ago. Always wanted to bring it back, but really thought it would be a distraction from the YouTube stuff. So I never wanted to do it myself. Every time I've thought about it, I even registered domain names thinking I'll just bring it back. And then I was like, no, focus on what you're doing. So focus. And then just so happened to meet Elaine, and it seemed like the right time. It's not the right time. If you ever read I think it's Richard Branson's autobiography, and he talks about saying yes to stuff when it's not the right time and just kind of figuring it out. And it's not the only one that said it. Plenty of people have said it other than him, but his is the one I remember. And it just felt like an opportunity that I couldn't miss. So I thought I'd say yes. But I said to her at the time, like, I can only give you 20% of my time. Like, has it been 20% of the time since then? No, probably 50-50. But I'd like to think at some point it will become more like 20%. But I just don't have the answer to how I'm managing it, because I don't really know. I don't feel like we're in any kind of successful state to have said, okay, I managed that really well, and we managed to get this lot of business. Like, we're not inundated with business or anything yet. We're in the startup stages. We're still trying to establish a brand. So I'm just trying to, the way I've tried to manage it is my LinkedIn is Slick Lizard. My Facebook is YouTube for Business. But now I've started talking about Slick Lizard on my Facebook as well, because it's not working well enough on LinkedIn. I don't know.
Do you think, or are you intentional about like the direction that you're going in, Matt, or is it a bit more about what opportunities present themselves? And
yeah, I guess so with the Slick Lizard thing, but with YouTube for Business, I'm definitely intentional now. And actually, I think I've noticed the difference of not being intentional. You know, I described the situation last year or even the start of this year. What I found, and I was speaking to Elaine about this with Slick Lizard, is I found that if I pick something, a task, a big task, or what feels like a big task, and I really hyper focus on that task, then I can get more done in a smaller amount of time. And so what's happened in the last 2 or 3 months is I've picked big tasks. So one of them, for example, is we talked about simplicity before we started recording, and like I didn't have my social media presence in any kind of way I was proud of. And I tried to hire digital marketing managers and marketing VAs, and I was trying to outsource the problem all the time. And what happened is I looked on my social media in like September, and I got no posts since like May. And I was like, how have I hired these people and paid them, but we've still not published anything? This is ridiculous. So in the end, I was like, I got rid of 2 VAs that I had at the time. I was just completely stopped the contracts. And I said to my existing team that was working really hard, I said, look, guys, how can we get something published next week? Forget about, we had this big plan of like every day for 90 days and all that kind of, you often do these big strategic plans, but I was like, how can we just get something published next week? What do we need to do? And we found it was like, create 2 graphics, approve the copy. That's the bit I was talking about earlier. And then we get it published. So we did that for a week. And I was like, okay, well, we managed to get something published every day for the last 5 days, working days. How do we get something published for the next 3 weeks? And then we repeated the cycle. So we started to do these really simple things, still part of the bigger, what did you call it, intentional plan. It's about taking the bigger strategic plan that you have and breaking it down into really small chunks so you can be hyper focused on what you're doing rather than coming up with a bigger plan. So in my case, it was a 90-day plan for a piece of content every day. And by spending the time looking at that 90-day plan and trying to create all the content for that, we just never published anything. So then when we changed that to what can we publish next week, we started to actually publish content. And then that snowball effect happened that, okay, we've done what can we publish next week? What about the next 3 weeks? What about 6 weeks? And now we're on like a something like 45 days now of content that's in the bank that's ready to go out. It's all approved and it's sitting there. It will just go out over the next 45 days. So the biggest change from an intentional point of view is just breaking things down and being hyper focused, and I think that really makes a difference.
Yeah, it's interesting, Matt, that I think obviously say about strategic plans and having long-term vision, but I think you get too many business owners who have, it's very easy to be distracted or be procrastinating, and you're almost looking for perfection before you can get started. I'm trying to, I feel like it's Rob Moore's got a book called Start Now, Get Perfect Later.
Yeah.
And yeah, you just think, if so many business owners actually took that approach, just to go, like I say, yeah, you can pick holes probably in some of your early posts that went out in terms of going, yeah, there were spelling mistakes, or that wasn't quite as we wanted it to come across, or whatever. But actually, the idea is you post it, you see what happens from it, you learn from it, you make improvements, you get better. Whereas, like you say, with the other ones, coming back what you said, like 4 months, 5 months with posting nothing.
Yeah.
What are you learning during that process? Because yeah, it might be the stuff that you now post 5 months down the line, nobody interacts with anyway, in which case, what was the 5 months work for?
Yeah. I just, it was just, I think you're just getting wrapped up in like, and I suppose you're seeing what other people are doing and seeing they're in year 3 or in year 1 or month 1 or whatever. And you're thinking, oh my God, they're putting all this content out. And so you want to try and replicate that and you want to try and join that train. But actually, you can't do that with all the little steps. And what I find with a lot of business mentors and coaches, what happens is it's almost like they forgot what it took to get there. So when they're teaching people stuff, they're teaching like, oh, hey, you can repurpose your content 100 times and this will mean you're relentless on social media. And it's like, but actually, when you first started, Mr. Coach, who says that, you were just posting 1 post a day. And that was a big enough achievement to get that 1 post a day. And then eventually you started to up that to something else. But you certainly didn't start with a repurposing strategy that gives you 100 posts a week and you're hitting all the social media platforms. What about we start with 1 platform, 1 post, 1 day, and then build on that? I think more people will get further if they started there.
It's interesting. This thought actually popped into my head earlier, Matt, and I didn't go down that route. And I can't remember exactly where it was. I think it possibly was you after your financial challenges in lockdown and you relaunching and starting again, if you like. It made me think and go, there's so many people who get to the stage maybe where you're at now, and then they look back and they're giving people who are starting up advice, but the startup advice they're giving them is based on the position that they're now at, and they're like, oh, you should niche straight away, you should maximize your pricing, and you should do all this. And then you go, hang on, if you were in their position and you weren't financially secure and you've got bills to pay, is that really the position you take? Or actually, do you become that person who you go, do you know what, pricing maybe has got to give a little bit because yeah, we've got bills to pay. We need to win some work. We need to start making some progress and making some momentum.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's reminded me of a program that I'm on at the moment. It's like a coaching program, and I'm going to message them today because we spent a couple of weeks talking about where I'm at and what I'm doing, and we kind of agreed to go for this. I've got a 12-week program that I'm going to launch. And we was like, the fastest way to cash when you're starting is what you should focus on. People complain about you should not sell time for money, but actually the fastest way to cash is to sell time for money. So if you are without cash, that's what you should focus on first to solve those immediate problems. And what you've just described, Ian, I think, is that people, when they're advising this, they don't ask the question of the people that they're talking to, where are you now in your financial situation? Because it's all right saying sell a high ticket program and go and do this and go and do that, but what do you need right now? That's what should be the first question. And in a lot of the time, it's that, you know, the fastest way to cash. Okay, so if you went and sold out all your time, yes, you would of course reach capacity quick. But if you put in some kind of plan in place that actually you could increase your prices, or you could start outsourcing something like that, then selling time for money isn't that bad at the start. It gives you a platform then to build on, you know, but at least you're not in a financial difficulty. But anyway, so I'm going back to my guys, because they said I should sell this program, and where I am now is I don't need the money, and so I don't need to sell this program, and I'm resistant against it, because actually what I really want to focus on is the thing that's not making me a great deal of money, which is my YouTube for Business program, because I believe long term wise that's going to be the biggest. I'm going to have the most impact in the world, and it will eventually be a really good earner. But right now it's not, and it's not the fastest way to cash. That's for sure. So yeah, I think that I'm going to go and tell them that. Wish me luck on that one. But it is. I'm in a fortunate position where I can make that decision and not have to worry about the finances at this point.
I think if they're good at what they do, Matt, they'll thank you for the honesty and going, actually, thanks for giving some real clarity about where we're at and where we're trying to get to. Yeah,
totally. I mean, they'll just say, well, then let's support you with that next thing. I know that's what they will do. It's just the way it is, I think.
Matt, obviously, with your tech background and your tech love, have you got some kind of favorite productivity hack that entrepreneurs could learn from that would really sort of change their time and their business, or really improve them?
Favorite productivity hack, other than putting your phone down and stopping scrolling, consuming everyone else's content, which is hard because I'm helping people create content. So if people didn't do that, then there'd be no one to view the content. The thing that's really had a good benefit to us is Notion. I don't know if you know Notion, like OneNote or Evernote or Notes. Notion is a note-taking tool, but it has loads of other things in it, like tables, and you can embed videos and all that kind of stuff. Like, we used to have documents all over the place, spreadsheets, all that kind of stuff. We still have some of that where needed, but for the most part, everything else is in Notion. And so it means that like our team notes are in there, our strategic plans in there, even our social content that we then move to our social planner is inside of Notion. And it just means it's so easy to get stuff and find. I mean, we still lose stuff in there, of course, but this search is really good. So having everyone have access to that and be able to use that and tag each other and collaborate in real time, that's been really, really great from a productive point of view. And the other thing is, and everybody says this and you don't do it, and everybody says it and you don't do it until you do it, and then you realize why everybody says it, and that is to outsource the jobs you hate as quick as possible. And go through the frogs before you find the princes, to use that analogy, because you will find VAs that are really bad, that say they're great, that are really bad. Like, don't hire a VA and they're really bad and then assume that all VAs are like that. I've been through like 6 or 7 this year, and I've got one who is amazing out of 7, 6 or 7. Now, either my recruitment process is bad, which could be true, or just some people say stuff, they can do stuff that they can't, or they don't gel with your team or whatever. So, but when you find the person to outsource it to, and you really can give it to them and believe that it will be done, oh my God, do you fly? Absolutely fly.
Yep. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think because particularly if you're outsourcing those tasks that you say that you're not, it's not necessarily you're not good at, but they don't come naturally to you. So therefore, that's going to take, 80% of your effort to probably get 20% of the result that somebody who's naturally good at it can do. Yeah, well, you could be just putting your efforts in such a better place.
Do you know the best thing, Ian, right, is yesterday I've been going through my Facebook, my list, a friends list, and I've been getting rid of all the dead wood, all this sort of old accounts and stuff. And there is a lot in there. And my daughter, we've been talking about business. I told you my daughter's homeschooled. We've been talking about business a lot. So she knows my hourly rate and she knows what I'm trying to do and all that kind of stuff. I realized yesterday how much she pays attention to what I'm saying to her. But she saw me going through this friends list, and she's like, listen, calls me Matt now. I'm not a dad anymore. I'm a Matt. She says, listen, Matt, your time is not good spent on that stuff. She said, I tell you what, I'll do it. You can pay me and I'll do it. And so she's going to earn £5 an hour. She told me she'd do it all for a tenner, and I know it will take her like 20 hours. And I was like, I can't pay you that. So she said, okay, what would you pay me? I said, £5 an hour. She said, okay. And away she's doing it. And she's got a really clear process to follow, and she's doing it. And so now I went down at lunchtime, been in meetings all day, and she's gone through about 5 pages of A's. She says, all your friends have been through 5 pages, and there's 25 on a page, so 125 people she's looked at, gone through my process of whether I should keep them or not, and got rid of them. And that's my daughter. This is someone that I can't ask to take the pots out, but because she's taking her time to learn about the business a bit more, she's getting quite interested in that stuff. She's seen that this is a job that I should not be doing, so she can identify it. Surely you as the entrepreneur can identify when it's something you shouldn't be doing. And I couldn't yesterday. She said, you shouldn't be doing this. So it's a wonderful situation when you find good people, even if they are related to you or not.
Yeah, no, definitely so. Matt, where can people connect with you? Where can people find out more about you? I suppose it's Facebook and LinkedIn in terms of what they want to connect with you for. But
I've got kingofvideo.co.uk, so kingofvideo.co.uk, or you can also go to YouTube for Business, all the words, no numbers, YouTube for Business. They're my 2 things that I'm fully focused on at the moment. They both lead into each other, but yeah, I'd definitely love to connect with you and answer any questions you've got on a YouTube front or video in general.
Fantastic. Matt, we've got a bit of a closing tradition, and it's a bit of a left field question, right? Which is, if you were going to start a new business tomorrow, completely unrelated to everything that you currently do, what would that business be and why?
If I was going to do anything else, I would start a VA management agency. I think to be able to create an agency where you provide VAs that really do know what they're doing, and you have a team of them, I really think you could make a killing doing that, because it's so hard to find the right virtual assistant. And even some of the agencies, I've seen a lot of agencies that are like VAs that start VA agencies. I think that would, and I think it'd be quite fun as well, like to get into the behind the scenes of people's businesses and help them solve those little problems. I think that'd be pretty cool. But that's what I'd do. I mean, ask me on a different day, I could tell you another one, because I see stuff. Drove past somewhere the other day, I can't remember what it was. Recruitment company. I drove past a recruitment company, and I'm sitting there thinking, would it be a good idea to start a recruitment company? And as I get further up the road, I'm like, you know nothing about recruitment, and you're really bad at it. But of course, you sit there and you're thinking about how could this work? How could that work? So yeah, VA agency. But I'd be a terrible VA. Terrible. What would you start eating? Have you answered that question loads?
Yeah, I've had someone ask before actually, and I sort of thought about it afterwards and went, I'm not sure if I'd do that. I said I would go and start a coaching company for people to do mountain running, because it's something I've done in the past, and it's very different to normal running. But at the same point, I also went, Ian, you're unfit now. If that you could run a mountain, it's probably not going to be a great coaching company. I don't know actually. I think, I don't know if I've got anywhere particularly. It's really, really hard, because I'm not like you in terms of I don't go around seeing these other things and think what I could do. I'm very much, I get to fulfill that in terms of the role that I do, in terms of coaching business owners to be more financially successful, I suppose. That I get to play business, if you like, and their different businesses and guide and coach. So I don't know if I see anything. I actually know, maybe there is. Maybe I would develop some kind of SaaS product. I feel like probably in the creative industries, in maybe web design, graphic design, I feel like there is some kind of challenge around clarity of pricing and proposals. And I think I'd probably create something around pricing and proposals for the creative industries.
Yeah, SaaS products are good. I almost started a CRM SaaS product. We registered the company and everything, and then it just got dissolved. We just canned it. But yeah, another crazy idea.
Yeah, but Matt, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show, and yeah, thank you so much for going where you've gone and giving us lots of key good information about your journey and everything that's led you to where you are today.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for the question. It's really got me thinking today, so I appreciate that too.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Leaky Bucket podcast. I'd love it if you could help spread the message by clicking subscribe and leaving a review. Also, please do reach out to me on LinkedIn and let me know your thoughts on this episode. You can also find more info and links in the show notes below. See you next time. Coming next week on the Leaky Bucket podcast.
My why outweighed convenience. So I could, when you have that strong why and you know what it is and you've clarified it in your minds, then you're not derailed by, what the naysayers are saying to you.